How's it going, everyone? Mike Mertes, Gamer Logic here, and welcome to my game room tour for 2014. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my game room, it's years and years and years of collecting, of playing games, of loving games, and pretty much just keeping them from about 5 years old. So what I kind of wanted to do this year with this video is do a little quick introduction with myself and just talk about how the room got put together and everything. And then we can go around the room and we can talk about some of my favorite pieces and stuff in the room. But if you've never checked out any of my previous game room videos, I have a ton of them. I've done probably since 2008 different tours of my game room, and it's cool seeing what's been added, what's been taken away, what all the constants are, and what's kind of been sold off, and what really just stays in the collection. So check out some of those previous videos just to see how this room has changed. Right now, I think this room is pretty much in its optimum shape as far as what I can do with it, with maybe a few changes here or there. When it comes right down to it, this room is out of space. You really couldn't add anything else to it. I couldn't add an arcade cabinet in here. Obviously, that's what the basement is for. And systems and stuff, I'm really happy with what I have. Systems, with a few exceptions of like a Philips CDI I wouldn't mind getting. Maybe a Amiga CD32, stuff like that. But I've kind of gone through my phase of picking up all the weird systems and playing them and going, you know what, there was a reason these weren't super popular. So as far as what I have is what I really love, and it's what I play. And anything that doesn't get used at this point has pretty much been sold off or given to people who would enjoy them. So that's my big deal with that. But yeah, you know, when we moved into this house, it was a brand new house. We are the first owners of this house, and we moved into it in about 2002. When I came from my parents' place, I had all my old games, and I let my little brother keep a decent chunk of some of my NES games and stuff like that, but reacquired them over time went on, getting them from my parents because he didn't take them when he moved. But a good chunk of this collection is stuff I've had for years, with adding stuff, you know, throughout the years as well. But this isn't a collection that one day, you know, 2 years ago I decided, yeah, I want to get into retro video games and I'm going to just have this big collection and not play things. That's not the case at all, guys. I've been playing for years. I've been picking up games for years. And I really wasn't one to trade in my games unless I absolutely had to for, say, financial reasons. So all my NES games are like original gifts my parents or my sister or my little brother gave me throughout the years, which is really awesome. But a lot of that stuff when we moved in 2002 sat in boxes for a long time. It was really my wife who really enjoyed the older games, and she was talking about some of the older ones, and I had them. So I took this room, which at the time only had an Xbox in it, and a big-ass CRT VGA monitor with a converter on there. And just got it hooked up, got an NES hooked up, got a Super Nintendo hooked up in here, and it just kept building up. So this room went from very bare bones nothing to just kind of my video game paradise. And I love everything in here. And now when people come in, I mean, I can ask for anything. Do you have this game on NES? Yeah, sure, you want to play it? Cool. Or do you have this on Super Nintendo? Or, oh man, look at the box for this, and all that other stuff. So I play, I collect, but I play, and that's the big thing. I play what I own, I enjoy what I have, and even if I haven't played it yet, the intent is it sits in my collection because at one point or another I plan to play it or revisit it, and I've revisited a ton of games throughout the years, and there's games that I play on a yearly basis just to play them and beat them again, like Castlevania, for example. But this is my game room. I love it, and it's definitely a labor of love. And wouldn't trade it for anything in the world unless it was a life or death consequence, where obviously life mattered more than video games, which it does. But let's go around the room and take a look at a few different things, and I hope you enjoy the tour. And like I said, check out some of the other videos and see what the differences are throughout the years. So I love this shelf. This is kind of new to the game room. I don't think I had this in the 2013 part of the tour, but this shelf is a loose cartridge collector's dream, because you're able to display tons of different stuff, put in a nice alphabetical order, and arrange the shelves how you need to. And as far as who makes this shelf, I am sorry, I have no idea. I went to a flea market, and the guy who was selling a bunch of these shelves used to work at a video store. He owned the video store, and this is what he would use to store all the cartridge games. Essentially what would happen is if you went to a rental store and you wanted a game, you would have the game box, and then you would have a plastic game box behind that, and you would grab it and you'd bring it up to the front counter, and they'd say, okay, this is Dragon Warrior, and they'd go on the back, or they'd go wherever their games were, and they'd grab it for you. So that's exactly what this was used for, and the guy was just looking to offload them for cheap, and that's exactly what he did. He was selling them at the flea market, and I saw one and I went, man, it's big, it's heavy, but that is a perfect way to display all my cartridges. If you look at my previous game room videos, I had my cartridges on this black bookshelf that's actually in the closet now, and you weren't really able to see everything. Nothing was in alphabetical order, and a lot of times I was finding out when I was going out to flea markets or going to game expos and stuff, would be I'd be going through my list, or I couldn't get to my game collecting application, and I'd be like, oh, River City Ransom, I don't have that, just an example. And I'd buy River City Ransom, and I'd come back and I'd have 2 of them. And that is a pain. There's nothing worse than finding out that you just spent money on a game you already own, and you got to sell it off, or you could trade it later, but needless to say, it's a big pain in the ass, right? So with this, it's really easy for me to know what I have in my collection. So I bought the shelf, brought it home, screwed it into the wall, and I have just about everything on here. And I'll do a quick pan on here, but I got my Super Nintendo games here. I got my NES games here, all the way down to Genesis, Master System, Famicom, Nintendo 64, Super Famicom. Everything is here, which is just awesome. So great stuff. I mean, you're able to get to everything easily, you're able to see what you own, and you stop running into the issue of doubles. And I have very few double games now, which is very awesome, because I don't do much selling either. I find that to be a pain in the ass too. But here's something a little different, and I'm sure you guys have probably seen this before. This is Castle Vodka. Looks like a regular NES game, right? Not so. You actually can pull this out, and it's a flask. You can drink out of this bad boy. I haven't actually drank out of it yet. I don't know how easy it is to drink out of it, but it was too cool to not pick up, so I picked it up, and it makes a neat little item on the shelf. So that is the game shelf of doom. So over here is the complete in-box shelf, and this is typically cartridge-based games that is up on this shelf. Genesis, Nintendo 64 to NES. Castlevania. Big ass Mario paint box. More NES boxed games. Then we break down to the Super Nintendo area here. Got the ActRaisers. Got the Breath of Fires, Doom, Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, Final Fantasy III, all the Final Fights. I love complete in-box games. So I love figurines, collectibles, stuff like that. And I have a variety of different ones. Some cheap, some expensive, some still in their original packaging, like we got Cloud up there. We've got Tifa. We got some original Halo 3 figures, the first run. We got a ODST from the San Diego Comic-Con from a long ass time ago. One of my favorites, a review I did for Soda Toys. This Ryu statue, badass. I also collect WWE, NWA, TNA, if I could get one for a decent price. Championship belts. Big wrestling fan. I do have more wrestling belts over here. These I'd like to actually get on a shelf and put those over there. More collectibles on my Sega Saturn kiosk. Oni statues and a few miscellaneous collectibles. I used to have a ton of collectibles over here actually. Just switched them out for the belts. So in this shelf here, this is kind of the import corner. It's also where I store some of my Game Boy games and other things. There's Seiken Densetsu 3, Secret of Mana 2, I guess you would say, for America. Clock Tower, a few other great Super Famicom games. We get down here and we have a Eternal Champions just kind of floating around here. Boxed Famicom stuff. Boxed import 64, Japanese 64 stuff. Tons of import stuff from Sega, Saturn, PlayStation, and Dreamcast. And down here's the big box CD stuff. There's some Philips CDI, some 3DO, some Sega CD, and there's some Saturn in there too. So over here is the CD-based game collection. I keep all my CD-based games here. On the top we got good old GameCube. We have Xbox, the real Xbox One. I loved the original Xbox, especially when it was modded. We get down the PlayStation games. And we got a variety of stuff over here too. Super CD, Dreamcast, and PlayStation. So this is the Closet of Doom, which is actually pretty clean. You might not be able to see too much stuff in here, but there's a variety of stuff. I got a Thrustmaster joystick box. Lots of boxed stuff in this closet, box system stuff. So there's a Super Scope and a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. Down here I got some more games. I got some Neo Geo AES games, some big box PS2 stuff. These are jam-packed with like PlayStation 2, loose PlayStation 2 games, and bootleg stuff, CD-based bootleg stuff. My Nintendo Power collection on the bottom. Have all the original 90s issues, as well as the 80s issues. I pretty much stopped by the time they get to Nintendo 64. I just wasn't too interested in at that point. Box systems up here. Genesis. Couple PlayStations, a Commodore 64C, some Nintendo 64s, there's a Virtual Boy, there's some Game Boy stuff. Let's change the door, shall we? Super Famicom, Disk System, NES, SNES, some TurboGrafx, import Saturn stuff, and some modern console stuff too. This is my lovely Sega Saturn kiosk. I love this thing. This kiosk is something I picked up from a friend, actually, who owned a video game shop. Did some work for him, and he was kind enough to give me the one that was in his garage, an extra one. So it has the original demo kiosk Saturn in it, original monitor, and the kiosk itself has all the original lighting. It all works. You could still use it in demo mode. and it weighs a ton. And if you look, I actually have both monitors going here, both playing Star Fox 64, and that is thanks to the power of splitters. And I also use this little media center 1080p converter. It's very, very, very handy. I know there's that FrameMeister out there. I think it's the FrameMeister X2 that people swear by and say it's great. I didn't get one of those. I got one of these, and it's great. Upconverts the signal to 1080p. Looks fantastic, and I've never ran into many HTCP issues or anything like that. Just great for capture, and lots of ports, so you could plug a ton of stuff into it, including 2 HDMI. So I'm able to hook up a ton of great stuff on this, as well as VGA. 1080p Dreamcast is flippin' amazing, folks, especially when it's upconverted through VGA. There's some of my systems here: PlayStation 2, Turbo Duo, Pocket Station, Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, Super NES, Sega Saturn, 3DO, JVC XI, ooh, blue lights, and some others, but mostly blue lights. And over here, Neo Geo, Neo Geo CD, Wii, PlayStation 3, Atari Jaguar, original Xbox. And that's a window. So that's it, guys. That is my 2014 game room tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next year. Peace.